everybody in your family as you begin to explore the program. I also just want to take a second as we're getting started here to review the agenda for the next hour. We're going to start in just a minute with some introductions of the people that are on the call and some of the other people in our program. And then we'll spend a little time going over the program format, the basics of the curriculum. Then we'll talk a little bit about what makes our program distinctive, and we have a current student on the call to share a little bit about that from her perspective. And then we'll try to spend at least 20 minutes in Q&A, making sure that we get your questions answered. And we'll close out by reviewing the timeline and next steps if you'd like to explore the program more. We are going to have you be muted while you're on the call, but that doesn't mean you're unable to communicate with us. So the best thing that we recommend is that you find the chat function in the WebEx box and choose me, Amber Johnson, in the Send To line, and then drop us a note with any questions you'd like us to address during the Q&A. We should have time to cover just about everything you have questions about, so go ahead and do that now. All right, let's get started. I want to start by introducing you to the director of our center, Jim Ludema. Jim's the director of the Center for Values-Driven Leadership and one of its founders. You can see him there waving on the camera. He's also a professor of global leadership, and he's been teaching at Benedictine University with executive students for more than 20 years. Jim holds his PhD from Case Western Reserve University, and he's a globally sought-after expert on the topic of leadership and culture and leading positive change. And in fact, he wrote a book called The Appreciative Inquiry Summit, and you may hear a little bit about the appreciative inquiry process at points throughout today. In his free time, Jim spends time with his grandkids and likes to cycle. And I can tell you from having worked with him for over a decade that he's one of the nicest guys. Jim, with that, why don't you take it away?
Great. Thanks, Amber. And hello, everyone. And thanks for being on this online open house with us today. I want to start by introducing you to the other folks on the call who make up the Center for Values-Driven Leadership. And first, you can see her on your screen is current student Cheryl Harris, and she's a member of our newest cohort, Cohort 5, PhD DBA program. Cheryl is the Chief Procurement Officer at Allstate. In this role, Cheryl manages Allstate's $4 billion spend portfolio to deliver value, mitigate risk, cultivate innovation, and develop talent. She also oversees Allstate's supplier inclusion and sustainability programs to ensure suppliers responsibly serve customers, employees, agency owners, shareholders, and the community. Previously, she held a similar role at Accenture. Cheryl has been recognized as an innovative leader. Recently, recognition includes being named as one of the most powerful Black women in corporate America in 2018, one of the most powerful Black executives in corporate America in 2017. As I mentioned earlier, she's in our cohort 5 of our doctoral program, and so she's about 9 months in, doing a great job and working really hard to juggle all of the demands of the program along with a very busy family life and a very busy work life, as you can imagine. Cheryl, thanks a lot for being with us today. On the call is the center's Amber Johnson, whom you've already met, and I'm sure you have discovered by now that she is exceptional. As she mentioned, she's our Chief Communications Officer and a Senior Research Associate in the center, and she's in charge of all of our marketing and communications and recruiting and thought leadership dissemination. She's also a student in the PhD program, a member of Cohort 4, the cohort before Cheryl's, where she is knee-deep in writing her dissertation, and she's doing it on leading global change initiatives. It's a great piece of work. Anyways, Amber will be moderating the Q&A session today, and moderating the entire webinar and also the Q&A session. And she'll also share a little bit more about the Center for Values-Driven Leadership in just a minute. I want to briefly introduce you to our faculty. As you can see on the slide, there are 3 core faculty members in addition to me, none of which are on the call today. Marie DiVirgilio, Gus Gustafson, and Mike Manning. The Benedictine anchor faculty, the 3 on the screen, myself, anchor each of the class weekends. We set the curriculum and we provide continuity and support for all of our students. I want to introduce you a bit to some of our distinguished visiting scholars because they teach alongside our faculty in the program. And this is one of the most important features of the program. The visiting distinguished scholars, a different one comes each weekend that you're in class. Leading scholars in the world in their area of expertise. Often they are the scholar who wrote the book or the articles on the topic that we're discussing, and they're right there with you in the classroom. Featured here are 3 individuals who have most recently won our Students Awards for Best Visiting Scholar. First is Anjan Chakravarty from Miami University, who teaches philosophy of science. Next, Inger Stensacker of the Norwegian School of Economics, who teaches qualitative research methods. And finally, Kim Cameron, a legend in the field of positive organizational scholarship and professor at University of Michigan, who teaches in our course on moral and ethical foundations of leadership. And you can find the complete list of all of our visiting scholars on our website. Back over to you.
Yeah, we want to just briefly tell you a little bit about the Center for Values-Driven Leadership, which is part of Benedictine's College of Business. As you can see on the screen, the center exists to help values-driven leaders develop themselves and others so we can build flourishing companies and so that can help transform business and society. And we really do that in 3 primary ways: through education, through practice, and research. You're probably most familiar with our education work already because you're on the call here about the PhD program. And in addition to that program, we actually have a master's program that we're available to take into companies who want to do cohorts of learners working on their master's in values-driven leadership. And then we do a good deal of executive education and leadership development workshops, everything from 1-hour online sessions to 18 months deep dives with personalized coaching. In terms of research, our students and our faculty are engaged in a variety of research topics that really operate at the intersection of how culture and leadership interact with profits and success and the organizational measures of business. And to give you a couple of examples, Jim already mentioned that I'm working on leading global change projects. We have other students and faculty who are looking at what it means to lead a diverse and inclusive organization and what that really requires and how we can measure our success and progress in that way. We have another student who's really interested in generational family businesses and how knowledge gets transferred from one generation to the other and how also values and ways of working get transferred as well. So you can see that there's a lot of different research happening, and our faculty are fundamentally involved in all of that and leading the way on their own work. And then finally, in terms of practice, we really are trying to make resources available to leaders who want to lead from a values-driven perspective. And so we do that through our Forbes column online, through ebooks, through webinars and leadership development programs, and through consulting with local businesses. And you can find out more about that all online. But we know you're here today to talk about the PhD program. So Jim, why don't you introduce that for us?
Sounds good. As you may know, we started the program in 2011, and as I mentioned earlier, we're currently in our 6th cohort. And here on this slide, you see many of our graduates and current students, and we are incredibly proud of the work that they do. They are all executives changing the way business is done in major corporations like Ford and Boeing, Exelon, Allstate like Cheryl. Some of them are founders and CEOs of small to mid-sized firms like Phoenix Boats, Inspira Health, and Blue Trail Software. Our commanders, colonels, generals in the U.S. Armed Forces. Other senior leaders in nonprofits and higher education, such as the Girl Scouts, of USA and Xavier University. And it is these values-driven leaders who, in many ways, helped us receive recognition as the #1 PhD program in leadership in the country from HR.com in 2017 and 2018. And if you're wondering why we didn't win it in 2019, it's because they stopped giving that award. But we would have won it. And I want to just go on, share a little bit more about the format and curriculum of the program, and then walk you through some of the features that make it especially distinctive. I'll move fairly quickly so that we can leave time for Q&A at the end, but feel free to be sending Amber your questions using the chat function if you wish as I go. In terms of the format, I think most of you know that it's a 3-year program, and in the first 2 years of the program you attend classes 1 weekend a month, and then usually starting at 6:30 on Friday evening and running all day Saturday and all day Sunday. You also come in once a year in June for an 8-day intensive. And this format allows our students to fly in from across the country and around the world to attend class. The 3rd year of the program, you don't need to come to campus. You're working on your dissertation with your dissertation chair and dissertation committee, conducting original research in your area of interest. Our curriculum covers 4 main areas. Dimensions of leadership, strategic change, global impact, and that includes leading in the global economy, corporate sustainability and responsibility, and all of the ways in which organizations and leadership impact the world. And of course, research methods. So you're prepared to do your own research in the 3rd year of the program. And we look at each of these topics through the lens of what it means to lead yourself, to lead others, to lead the organization, and then lead in society. And we think it's important to really focus on all 4 of those levels because all leaders have to operate at those 4 levels. A full list of our courses and descriptions on our website as well, and I encourage you to read through those. Also, as part of the curriculum, you will attend leading conferences in the field of management, leadership, and organizational behavior. In year 1 and 2, these are actually required courses in the program. In year 1, you attend the leading conference in the field of management, which is the Academy of Management Conference. And in year 2, you attend the International Leadership Association Conference, which is the leading conference in the world for leadership scholars and practitioners. And both conferences are phenomenal opportunities to meet with leading thinkers in the field, explore cutting-edge research on the topic that you're passionate about, and to present your own research and case studies to get feedback on them and to stretch your thinking and your writing towards your dissertation. We also have a requirement to attend 1 global conference of your choice at some time during the program, and our students have traveled all over the world to places like Belgium, Dubai, France, India, Ireland, Italy, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Spain, the UK. And typically they'll go with at least 1 faculty member, sometimes 2. And these are just really high quality learning experiences in which you get to engage with top scholars and executives from other countries and cultures, and it's just phenomenal. And we found that the students who attend these conferences, dive in head first, and really get engaged, make much better and faster progress in understanding the field and in making progress on their dissertation. And in addition, it's just a lot of fun. Cheryl, you want to just say a quick word about your experience at the Academy of Management? Again, Cheryl is in her 1st year, and in the 1st year you go to the Academy of Management Conference. It was just held in August in Boston, and Cheryl was there. You want to say a quick word?
Just a second, Cheryl, we still have you on mute. Let me try again.
Yes, thanks, Jim. Initially, we thought it would be overwhelming, but going in and thinking about the sessions and symposiums from a practitioner's perspective really allowed me to leave AMA with learnings that I was able to put in practice literally on the Monday that I got back into the office. So it's an exciting way to learn and a great way to network.
Thank you. Now let me jump back to the slides and talking a bit about the program. Next thing I'd like to mention is that it's really for senior business leaders who want to change the world and who just love to learn. The reason it's for senior business leaders is that it's based on the idea that business is currently the most powerful institution on the planet and the institution with the greatest potential to influence positive change. And so we're looking for people who share this conviction and want to be a part of a learning community that'll help them advance their life and their careers in this direction, all from a values-driven perspective. And secondly, as I say, it's for people who love to learn. It's different from any other doctoral program out there, whether it's a traditional program or an executive program or an online program. Ours is designed to help you grow as a leader, as a scholar, and as a person. We provide a safe and inviting space in which you can find your edges and push your edges and then open yourself up to personal and professional transformation. And we found that the students who thrive most in our program are those who themselves to the world of ideas, jump in with both feet, explore as many theories and models and perspectives and experiences as possible, and then engage in really deep, meaningful learning with others. What I'd like to make is that the program combines rigor and relevance for scholar practitioners. It means that the faculty and the visiting scholars, they bring their best and most cutting edge ideas into the classroom, and students like Cheryl and Amber do the same. And then together we build new theory, do new research, and test them in the world of practice. So in this program, you're not just a consumer of knowledge the way you would be in an undergrad or master's program and some doctoral programs, but you become a creator of new knowledge, new ideas, new models, new approaches that you and others can then apply in your organizations and also write up to advance the state of the art of the field. We know that some of you have not been in the classroom for years, but that's also not a problem because we come alongside you as you make the transition into being a scholar practitioner and support you. And the program even provides a world-class writing coach to sort of help you make progress on your writing. Our next point is that the program is very student-centric and it's tailored to the demands of executives working full-time. It's designed to be completed in 3 years compared to 5 to 7 years for most doctoral programs. And as we've already discussed, the format allows you to be in class on weekends and then still put in a full week of work. You can also select from one of two tracks, either a PhD degree, which is more research focused, or a DBA degree, which is more practice oriented. And all the coursework is scheduled to help you make progress towards your dissertation beginning day one in the program. You can focus your dissertation on pretty much any topic you wish within the fields of leadership, strategic change, and global impact, broadly defined. So you are in the driver's seat when it comes to your dissertation topic. You'll also get an unusually high level of faculty, staff, alumni, and fellow student support because we are a community of learners and we are fully committed to your success once you're in the program. You get to do all of this in our new state-of-the-art building, the Goodwin Hall College of Business. I also want to just point out again that we try to make it as much as possible a global learning community. We bring in as much diversity into the cohort, student cohort as possible, and then much of the teaching in the program is done by visiting scholars and executives from universities and corporations around the globe. And as I also mentioned earlier, you will be taking at least one international trip for a global exchange when you're in the program. We believe that this is vital for any leader in today's economy as globalization is changing the way we work. And then finally, I just want to say that the program, our students tell us over and over and over again that the program is truly a transformational learning experience. You'll be making lifelong friendships. You'll be testing the boundaries of your knowledge and discipline and resilience. You'll be digging deep into what really matters to you. You'll rethink the way you lead and the way you serve. It will change the way you do business on a day-to-day basis. And you'll see the results, not just a diploma, which is one great result, but also in your work and in your life. So that's sort of my overview of the program. I hope you have enjoyed it and learned from it, and we have opportunity to talk more about it. And I want to now turn it over to Cheryl so that she can share a bit of her experience in the program. Cheryl, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Good afternoon, and many thanks to all of you that have joined us today. Jim talked a little bit about what I do in my day-to-day life, but let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm a mother of 5. I'm active on 2 boards. I'm in the middle of college visits, in addition to being a doctoral student, and I am loving life. As Jim said, the program is structured in a way that supports working professionals. He also talked about the cohorts being made up of diverse individuals. So in our cohort, we have public servants, small business owners, consultants, and a range of professionals that come from different industries, geographies, and of course, they bring a diverse set of experiences. I also mentioned the word diverse. We are diverse racially, in age, experiences, our leadership styles, and how we contribute inside and outside the classroom. As I mentioned, in reference to the AMA conference, almost starting from day 1, I've been able to use learnings from the literature, classroom experience, lectures, in my professional work here at Allstate. So much so that a lower level employee on my team started a book club because she wanted to make sure that we were creating a learning environment with our team. And the work that we're doing here, continuous learning, has actually started to set the model and the tone for the rest of the organization. But I wanted to give my testimony. The caliber of our professors, our visiting scholars, is bar none. I also had been out of the classroom for a long time and didn't know what to expect. But when you have, for example, the father of leadership, Dr. Norhaus, to come in and actually teach our first class was absolutely phenomenal. Now, let me be real honest and transparent. For the first few weeks after being accepted into the program, I have to honestly say, I asked myself, what in the heck am I doing? I then read through the bios of my cohort and started quite honestly to feel a bit insecure, asking myself again, am I good enough? And I met them in the first day of our cohort. I was still concerned about whether or not I would have the wherewithal to get this done in 3 years. And I will have to say, now that we're in almost October and we've gone through 3 to 4 classes already, that I am exactly where I am supposed to be. Now, one of the things that you will hear from Jim and from Amber and from the other professors, trust the process. And I will tell you, if you trust the process, everything will fall in place and you will be able to excel within this program. So I encourage you to strongly consider it. I'm actually recommending it to fellow colleagues here within Allstate and within my broad network. I will also say that with 3 kids in college now, I am serving as a role model to them. So I won't say it's easy, but I will say it's possible. So if there's anything I can do to support you and or questions that you have along the way, you can channel those through Amber, and I welcome the opportunity to connect. Hey, thanks, Jim and Amber.
Thanks, Cheryl.
All right, and now I think it's time that we should answer some of your questions. A few have been coming my way already, but we certainly have time for more. So please use that chat function in your WebEx software, select Amber Johnson in the send to box, and then just type whatever questions you have. But we have several here we can get started with. And Jim, I'm going to pitch the first one to you. You mentioned you can choose PhD or DBA. Could you say a little more to explain the difference between those two choices?
So you can pursue either degree track in the program, and you don't have to make the final decision until the third year when you're starting your dissertation. Because in the first 2 years, whether you're in the DBA track or the PhD track, you take the same courses together with the students in the other track. And so everybody's together for the first 2 years, taking all of the same courses. At the end of the second year, when you're moving into doing your dissertation, if you want to do a more applied dissertation, where you essentially do a change project in your organization or a leadership development project in your organization, and then write up a robust case study about that with lessons learned, then you go in the DBA track. If you want to go in a more scholarly direction and do a PhD, then you need to apply conventional research methods, quantitative or qualitative research methods, collect a data set, analyze the data set, and make an original contribution, and then potentially publish that contribution. So as I mentioned, the two tracks are the same for the first 2 years doing the coursework, and then in that third year, if you want to do a more applied dissertation, you'd go in the DBA track, and if you want to do a more scholarly dissertation, you go in the PhD track.
All right, Cheryl, the question that everybody is curious about has come up. People are wondering, how much time does this take? What should we really expect the time commitment to be?
Yes, so on average, and I've talked to my cohort about it, you're spending roughly 20 hours, in preparation to get, or at least I will say for me, to get all of the things done that we're expected to have done between our courses. I will also be honest, I am a slow reader, and I have to allow a bit more time to understand and digest the context, because I learn through doing, and I'm very aware of that. So I then set aside additional time. As I said earlier, having kids allows me to also create steady habits with them. So it's not that I'm spending any less time with them, but rather we're using our time focused on, again, learning as a family. And again, I travel for work. I'm active in the community, and I quite honestly believe that I'm doing quite well in the program. So I'm not sure, Amber or Jim, if you would add anything else to that.
I would just concur that you're doing very well in the program, Cheryl.
Yeah, I would say we actually every 2 years survey our students and ask them how long they're spending on the program, and Cheryl's right in line with what we find. People tell us it takes between 15 and 20 hours a week of time. And the good thing about it that I found with my schedule, because I'm also a mom and I have young kids at home, is that when you leave class on Sunday afternoon, you know exactly what has to be accomplished in the next month. And then your time in between is yours to do that with. And so if you have a crazy week at work or lots of family obligations one week, then you just have to move the time around to make it fit. But it is pretty consistent, between 10 to 20, usually on the higher end per week in terms of time. And let me just clarify, a couple people are asking, are there any online options as part of the program? And no, this is a fully classroom program from our campus in Lisle, Illinois, which is about 30 minutes outside of Chicago, 30 minutes from either O'Hare or Midway airports. But classes are just held 1 weekend a month. So we have people that fly in from all across the world. We had a student who commuted from Germany each month. My cohort has a student who commutes from Guadalajara each month. because you can work a full day, fly in Friday afternoon, and be in class Friday evening. Jim, a question for you.
May I just add on to what you just said about
Of course.
not being an online program? As Amber mentioned, we survey our students regularly to see what they love most about the program and what recommendations they have for it. And across the cohorts, the students have said, we don't want it to be an online program. We love the face-to-face interaction for a couple of really good reasons. Number one is the quality of the students in the room. It is just, it's like a learning laboratory because of all of the experiences they've had in the different sectors and all of the things that they've done, and to be able to bump up against the others in the room and learn from them as well as helping them learn. It's a great experience for students, and you couldn't do that in the same way in an online environment. And the other, of course, is having our faculty, and then particularly the distinguished visiting scholars there. As I mentioned earlier, these visiting scholars are the people who have written the books on leadership, on strategic change, on global impact, and they're there in the classroom with you. They have lunch with you. Sometimes they have dinner with you, and you get to engage with them both during class time and in the margins around class time to develop relationships with them, learn from them, and then even potentially invite them to be on your dissertation committee when that time comes. That sort of face-to-face interaction that is one of the great distinguishing features of the program.
Topic, Cheryl, can you people are wondering what you actually do in class for all of that time. So can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be in class?
Yeah, again, from someone who had been out of the classroom for decades, it's an invigorating energy. Again, as Jim said, and Jim, want to add a little bit to what you said, the in-person experience is so invaluable. I find that I learn in every minute that we're together, right? It's about, it's about how the team comes together. It's how we've processed the literature, through our own lenses and through our own experiences. It's about how we come together to, again, make sense of may appear to be very difficult concepts. There is a lot of academic reading, so I'll put that out there. But learning the skills to interpret those in a way that will allow you to hold the concepts firm and be able to apply them. So part of the content will be lecture, but I will also say a lot of it is discussion and interaction with what Jim said, us learning through the lens of others so that we can truly create a global perspective in the classroom. I find that when I walk in, well, let me talk a little bit about, again, me. I commute from Allstate, which is in Northbrook, on Friday evenings. The rush hour just sucks, so I'll just put that out there. However, when I get to class, I'm surrounded by like-minded people who are committed to learning, who are committed to making a difference in society. I just get so energized. And that energy not only dissipates at the end of that session or at the end of the weekend, I've actually sent my cohort a note saying, I'm looking forward to connecting tomorrow. I know that experience will be invaluable. So I hope that helps to shed a little light. It's not structured lecture. You won't be sitting there taking notes, but it's through the interactions and the conversations that we have that true learning occurs.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Perfect. Absolutely. One person's asked if we have to take the GMAT or anything like that, or the GRE. Nope, that's not part of our program. You do have to turn in your transcripts, your official transcripts from your previous universities. And that leads me to another question someone had, Jim, and that is, what if you either don't have a master's degree or you aren't quite the SVP that Cheryl is yet? You haven't quite reached the C-suite circles. Is the program still something that they can consider, Jim?
Yeah, definitely. And, sort of piggybacking on what you said, Amber, about the GMAT or GRE, The reason we don't require those is that we look at each person as an individual and look at their unique experience, their unique contributions up to that time, and their hopes and dreams for their career and their life going forward. And so in the application process, yeah, we ask for transcripts, yeah, we ask for an application per se, but we also ask them, students, to write an essay about who they are, what they're about in the world, where they hope to go, where they see themselves in 5, 10, 15 years, and why they think a program like this is the right program for them. And then we make everybody come in for a face-to-face interview, and that is key. And it's a requirement because we want to sit face-to-face with folks to get to know them, to understand them, to dig deeply into who they are, and have them do the same with us so that we're sure that it's a good match. And that's the way we do the recruiting process. And so then what ends up happening is that we are very selective about who we bring into the program, so that we know that they are values-driven leaders out to change the world, collaborative learners, humble learners, and that they will fit well in the cohort. And we invite into the program a range of people from different levels in organizations, from different industries, as Cheryl mentioned, also looking at ethnic diversity and other forms of diversity. And so, yes, even if you're not an SVP like Cheryl, you know, no matter what the situation, we'll look at you as an individual and consider you bringing you into the cohort.
Thank you. You mentioned cohort a number of times, and someone has asked, and let me just clarify that, yes, you start day one with your cohort, same cohort, and then you'll be with that cohort for the rest of the 2 years and hopefully graduate all together at the end of 3 years. And that gives you a chance, like Jim said, to really learn from each other and to form friendships as well, as Cheryl has hinted at.
Oh yeah, Amber, the other question that you had for me is, do you need a master's degree? And yeah, we strongly prefer that our students come in with a master's degree. And the reason for that is that people who have a master's degree have a little bit better idea of the rigors of doctoral level work. Don't, and it makes a difference, we have found, with students. That said, we also have accepted a number of students into the program who do not have a master's degree. And I think, Cheryl, you do not have a master's degree, is that correct?
That is correct.
And it comes down to looking at the individual. And, you know, so when we got Cheryl's application, we interviewed Cheryl, we saw the accomplishments that she'd made, we saw all of the executive education courses and experiences that she had been to and led. Through that process and the interview with her and her essay and so on, we became very confident that she could do high quality doctoral level work and make a big contribution to the. So someone like Cheryl, yes, we allow into the program without a master's degree. It's the exception rather than the rule, but it is something that we do.
Thank you. Cheryl, you are 9 months into the, so you've just had some beginning to have some assignments, you've turned in some papers. Can you talk about making that transition to reading and thinking and writing at a doctoral level, and you know how you're finding that process?
Well, it's interesting. So I know a lot about who I am. I'm learning a bit more about who I am and who I am not. I will say, as I said earlier, I love to write. So the writing part for me is, it comes naturally. So understanding your strengths and what you do well will play in your favor. As I said before, I'm also a slow reader. And so I've actually had to create some discipline around making the time to focus and read, to comprehend and understand. It wasn't natural. Well, let me say it this way. Hundreds of emails a day. And so I'm accustomed to reading and responding very quickly because the emails are typically on subjects that I'm well informed of. But as we look into, you know, doing work to understand leadership theory, I will tell you, it initially was a challenge for me to make that transition. But as I started reading the content, thinking about it through the lens of my experiences, it all starts to make sense it started to make sense to me. And I've actually given that as a suggestion to my cohorts to say, stop trying to read the words literally, but put yourself in those situations. And it makes the learning so much rich. And I will tell you, it's made it a lot easier for me. So what you will appreciate about this program is situations, those interactions, the times when you brought teams together or had to sunset teams and you witnessed behaviors. You will start to have the right frame in academic language to explain what actually happened in those moments. And so I will tell you, my team is saying I'm turning a little geeky. I can actually now talk about what I'm witnessing in not here at Allstate, but making my learnings very applicable. So it's a process, but again, as you will hear Jim and Amber and the other scholars speak to, trust the process. Everything happens in due time. And if you allow yourselves to trust the process and literally just take that first step towards learning, I think that you will find this to be an absolute joy and a worthwhile life experience.
That's great. And I can say too that the learning happens pretty fast. At the beginning, it took me probably 2 hours to read a journal article and feel like I had any level of comprehension. And then they give you an assignment called a Pracies. It's a dreaded assignment, but it teaches you how to dissect an article. And then you suddenly realize, oh, they kind of follow this pattern. And you develop this ability to read it a lot faster. And then you start seeing how they cite literature and you can wrap that into your own writing. And it just, you learn through osmosis to some extent too.
Right.
I build on what the two of you have said. We've designed the curriculum very intentionally too, so that the courses sort of build in terms of scholarly depth or scholarly difficulty. I don't know exactly how to say the word, but Cheryl mentioned the first course in the curriculum, which is Leadership Theory and Practice, led by Dr. Peter Northouse, who's written the world's leading text on leadership. And that course is more sort of a level setting course where, it's a broad survey of all of the theories of leadership out there, but it doesn't go super deep, sort of theoretically or conceptually. So that people who maybe haven't been in school for a while can sort of get their sea legs, so to speak. Then we go into the 8-day intensive, and the first part of the 8-day intensive is the Leading Self course, which is very experiential. You do a lot of assessments and thinking about your own leadership style and leadership legacy that you want to leave and the future directions that you want to go with your leadership. And that's very personal and experiential and dialogical with other people in the room. But again, academically, conceptually, it's not super deep or dense. You go into the first research methods course, and then that one is a little bit more scholarly. But by then you've gotten a little bit of a feel for the program. You've learned a little bit better how to read journal articles, as Amber mentioned, and so on. Leading Teams course, and again, that's a very experiential kind of course that brings theory and practice together, where it's sort of like a living laboratory around watching the team dynamics unfold in the cohort. So bumping that up against the academic literature around teams. And into the moral and ethical foundations of leadership. And again, that's a little bit more scholarly. And so as you can see, it sort of builds in terms of starting a little lighter and moving more into scholarly depth as students get comfortable with it. Then you also mentioned the writing coach that we have in the program, and her name is Joanna Beth Tweedy. She's a graduate of our first cohort, so she knows the program really well, and also is a professor of English literature at Western Governors University, and so she really knows how to write well. She will coach you on your writing, and you get coaching in that first class. You get coaching, I think it's in the leading teams class. I don't know exactly the sequence, but that also is incremental and builds on itself so that you can sort of ease into the writing as well. And so the curriculum is designed very intentionally to help people sort of get up to speed over the course of the first 6 months of the program.
That's great. And it dovetails with a question that we just were asked, Jim, which is, how do you get ready for a dissertation and how long does that take? And we actually have a video that I can send out in a follow-up link to everybody who's on the call. But could you just kind of summarize how that starts and what that process looks like?
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned earlier, we encourage you to start thinking about and working on your dissertation, and we designed the curriculum from the very beginning to help you make progress on your dissertation. And what I mentioned earlier is that we do that from day one in the program. And the way that happens is that even when you're applying for the program in your essay, we ask you to think about what you might want to do your dissertation on. So you're already thinking about potential topics. Then at the Academy of Management meeting in that first year, you go and we ask you to put together an itinerary for your time at the Academy of Management, going to the sessions that are of most interest to you that might inform your dissertation topic. You go to all these sessions, you meet all these great scholars, you meet all these other people doing work in these areas that you're interested in, and it starts to develop your own thinking around the dissertation. And then we have a little session where we get together and ask people to talk about what might your dissertation topic be. Now that you've been in the program for 4 months and you've had a few courses, you've been around to the Academy of Management, what are you thinking about your dissertation? Then we go through additional courses and people are taking in all of the learning and knowledge there and maybe applying it to what they're thinking of their dissertation. And then in the spring, sort of 1 year into the program, we'll have a full weekend where we'll spend talking about dissertation topics and what people are thinking about their dissertation, where they want to go with it, and so on. And then we do that again in the following fall as people are finishing up the content courses and moving into the more of the research methods courses and starting to work on their dissertation. We have another session like that where people can drill more deeply. So all of the courses are helping you make progress on your dissertation, and we've got those other touch points to help you think through the dissertation with other students and with the faculty together. Also, in the courses, you can write your papers. So let's say you're doing a paper on organizational theory. You can write that paper in the direction of where you want your dissertation to go. So beginning from the first year of the program, you can sort of tailor your writing in the direction of your, so for example, Amber's very interested in global leadership. And so as she's doing a course on organizational theory or organizational change or moral and ethical foundations of leadership, she can write about those topics in the context of global leadership to help her make progress on the dissertation. Additionally, we have 2 assignments. One is called the first qualifying paper, and the other is the second qualifying paper. And in the first year, you do this first qualifying paper, which is Qual 1, and we ask you to go out and look at the top journals in the field 3 years back and look at all of the things that people are writing about. Who are the hot authors? What are the hot topics? What are the methodologies they're using, so that you can get really socialized into the field and really understand the field in its breadth and depth. In the second year, we ask you to do Qual 2, which is a deep dive into the topic that you're interested in. So again, taking Amber as an example, when it came time in that second year, she had said, yeah, I want to do something around leading global change projects. And so I'm going to review all of the literature out there on leading global change projects, and I'm going to write my Qual 2 paper about that. And then that serves as sort of the literature review for the dissertation. Methods courses, you begin to start thinking, okay, what method do I want to use to study it? Do I want to go out and do a bunch of interviews? Do I want to collect quantitative data and do a quantitative data analysis, or some combination of the two? And then you write that up in those research methods courses. So by the time you're done with the 2 years of coursework, you've already written an introduction to your dissertation, you've already written your literature review, which is chapter 2, and you've already written your third chapter, which is the research methods. And so you're already well on your way to doing the dissertation, which then you complete in the third year. Also, the second year, we invite you to select the dissertation chair from one of our faculty, either me, Gus Gustafson, Mike Manning, or Marie DiVirgilio. And once the chair is selected, we work with you to get other members on the committee. You need 3 members on your dissertation committee, 1 from Benedictine, our faculty, and then 2 from outside. They can be visiting scholars or other people that are leaders in the field. And we reach out to them and bring them onto the committee. And so you're getting that support from the committee as well. So again, the whole process from day one is there to support you making progress on your dissertation and completing it successfully.
All right, thank you. We're going to do a quick lightning round to answer a few last-minute questions, and then we'll move on to talking about the timeframes when applications are due and all of that. People are asking financially. Let me just outline that the cost of the program is a 3-year program, and it's $40,000 a year for the 3 years of the program. Now, that does include your textbooks, which is important to know because that's actually a significant cost, and it also saves you a lot of time to not have to go track those things down for yourselves. And then Cheryl, somebody wants to know, what do you wish you knew when you started this program? What do you know now that you wish you had known when you started?
I was actually thinking about that, didn't know where to insert it. I wish I would have started journaling my experience starting on day 1. That it's about trusting the process. Because in every single minute of every single interaction, there is a learning. And I would encourage any of you to start, even today, if you're considering the program, start journaling sort of the what it is, the what you want to achieve, the why, and then continue that journaling literally starting on day 1.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you. And Jim, the last question goes to you. Say a bit more briefly about the global exchange process, and specifically people want to know, like, is that a month commitment? How long is that commitment?
Go on these international trips, these global exchanges, they're typically a week, maybe not even a full week of actual time on the exchange, like a Monday through Friday kind of thing. Travel on Sunday to get there on Monday. You may have to travel Saturday on the way home if it goes through Friday. But typically what we do on those global exchanges is a group of us will go. So for example, recently our faculty member Mike Manning went to Trieste, Italy with a group of students to a conference there, and then often we'll go to visit there and have dialogue with executives in those companies. But it's almost always associated with an international conference of some sort or another. The neat thing about those trips too is that alumni often come, and also students and alumni can bring family members or friends along as well, and then make a longer trip of it and make a vacation of it. So it's it's a great time. It's a great time. Great learning experience, great cross-cultural experience, and great bonding experience for the students and alumni and their loved ones.
Very cool. Thank you. All right. Well, we want to make sure we keep our promise of holding you to the time. So let me just wrap up by giving you a few next steps if you'd like to continue learning about the program. First of all, I'm sure most of you have seen this page on our website. The address is up there at the top. Each of those orange sections are links that take you to more content about the program. So you can read more about our research and actually read dissertations that have come out of the program. You can get a lot of your questions answered at FAQs. You can read course descriptions for every course in the program and find lots and lots of videos. So if you've not yet done that, we completely recommend you spend some time on that page. We also this year are offering a new workshop. We'll do it once in October, once in May, and then maybe one more time cohort begins. The first offering will be October 10th at 1 p.m. It'll be an online session, and you can see the link there to register for it. I'll put a link in an email I send to you as well. But this is really focused on how to prepare for your PhD. So what do you need to be thinking about in terms of if you haven't had statistics in a decade, or books you could be reading in advance, or answering some of those kind of questions that you may be wondering. So we'll spend a little time on that, and we'd love for you to sign up and join us at that. In terms of the timeline, what happens from here? We will start accepting applications in April of 2020. So we launch a new cohort every 2 years. Our next cohort begins on April 9th, 2021. So we start accepting applications a year in advance, and they'll be due in November of 2020. And so that means you have a lot of time to do your due diligence in the program, to come visit us in person, to attend another one of these sessions, connect with us in whatever way that you would like. And with that, Jim, can you just offer some closing thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Just want to thank all of you for being a part of this webinar. And just to summarize, program will change your life personally and professionally. Really looking for a dynamic cohort of students who want to change the world through a values-driven approach to business, who just love to learn and grow and develop and do that with others, and who want to push the boundaries of the frontiers of the field, both in terms of practice and in terms of theory and contribution to the literature. Want to be a part of a global learning community of like-minded, fun, smart, values-driven leaders like Cheryl and Amber. So thanks again for being here. We hope to see your application for the program. Thank you, Amber, and thank you, Cheryl, for being a part of this. And everybody, have a great rest of your day. And with that, we are adjourned. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.